before we are presented with such ideas, if someone said to me like, well, what is an objective review, almost to like dismiss the idea, I'd just be like, well, I assume it's going to be, you're more so describing what is, right? That's just going to be the main thing. That's the simplest fucking thing I could possibly come up with, for like a colloquial understanding.
Yeah.
This is a game. It has this.
Yeah, like, and then you can expand that in interesting ways. It's like, much with reviewing literally anything.
It doesn't work.
Like,
This is how these things mix and match, and here's
Yeah,
what's done. You can elaborate and get as detailed as you want to be.
like the simple version for all of these would be like, this is a cake. There you go, my objective review is done. Or this is a car. This is a video game. And like, there's a sentiment. I'm not saying this is Jim's sentiment, but there's a sentiment of like, that's as far as you can go. And it's like, well, I mean, we could talk about what's in the cake. Talk about what's in the car.
If you're a boring loser, then yes, that's as far as you can go.
Like
if you're not creative at all.
I feel like that's not even a review. You're just stating like something. Like,
Yeah, you
this
you
is
can
the
make
cake.
you can make qualitative, objective observations of video games too. Like you can say something like, "This game has a consistent frame rate and it is always running well," and that is objective because it either does or it doesn't, and it will affect whether the game is good or bad as a result. As far
I
as
feel
how
like
it goes.
frame rate is the easiest one to talk about
Yeah.
because it's like the higher the frame rate means the faster the response
Well,
time and
surely resolution too. If you point out it's like this only goes at 140p, you'd be like, oh. And you're like- and
I
if-
like
No,
games
but
at 140p. In fact,
yeah,
I prefer to play games at
and
144p.
if one person says I like playing games at 1 pixel by 1 pixel, it's like, see, now you can't be objective about anything because somebody
That's the
has
thing.
expressed a preference.
all they would have done is removed the part where you could say this is bad for everyone. Instead, they've rolled you back to stating that that's the case. And I still think that that should count as a review. You've provided information that's not going to be commonly understood, and it's useful information for many people.
Right.
Yeah. And you could still be objective while looking at the camera in funny ways that indicate exactly what you think about each of these things.
Yeah, and
without
with the tone of your voice, and
saying it.
and if someone was like, well, that's where you're letting your biases sneak in, just for like, oh, okay, so we have to be incredibly literal there. Because if that's what he's saying, if literally, like, if I said, oh, I love TLJ, they'll be like, see, you're implying you don't like it. I should be like,
It's like, no, I'm not implying anything. I'm just... or are you saying that an objective review has to be said in a flat tone?
Yeah, because
So we have to use the
if you define it that way, then yeah, they're going to start getting boring.
I don't
have to
even know
use
how
the,
they can justify that.
Just use
text
the
to
robot
speech
voice.
thing. Yeah, the robot, the text to speech robot.
Yeah, that's it.
Microsoft
Exclusively.
mic.
I don't know. I've seen some text-to-speech robots that have a tone that's a
Yeah.
little snarky.
It could have a bias in it.
Worked well for RB and the Chief.
Exactly.
The robot has a bias. It's like, I really like RPGs, I don't know. But I guess I'll try and be
What
as
are,
objective as I can.
what are these things that he's got? I recognize something from Undertale.
Boglins.
Those are boglins.
Boglins.
That's his thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those
I
are
don't-
another
I don't-
thing from the 90s, right? Or were those 80s?
see a
I think
hog
they
there.
are actually 80s.
Yeah, these do not ring a bell to me at all.
for a good home, maybe yours.
Oh, dang, you speak and he shall come or something.
Speaking of boglins,
Nah, more like speaking of RB and the Chief.
yes, that was...
It's
that-
boy.
yeah,
Well, if it isn't John CJG, how'd you do?
Hello, guys.
Yeah.
Hello, John.
We just
Oh,
got
hey,
started.
John.
We're talking about reviews and literally just got RB and the Chief mentioned, and that was
Awesome.
unrelated. You know?
I
So,
love it.
Nice.
Mentioned in the context of good use of text to speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm pretty sure I told you when we first had the podcast, but man, the effort you put into the subtitles to make sure everything comes through of how Chief speaks, that's top-notch editing work.
Oh yeah, with punctuation more than people realize, like, because it makes it sound different if it's like a question mark, even though it's not a question. You can
Yeah.
kind of make a sentence sound. It gives it like a natural inflection.
Yeah, I can imagine. You probably have to test a whole bunch, right? Like getting them to say the word the way you want him to, but you can still write it down the way it's supposed to be understood and stuff.
I used to test it a lot, but I've done it for so long now that I can read a sentence and I know exactly how Microsoft Sam or Mike are going to say it. Like I don't even have to.
When
I
you
don't even
become
have to
one,
test it anymore.
it's just
Damn.
embedded in
Exactly.
your mind.
Yeah, it's been like since 2007 or something. I'm an expert at it now.
If you scroll up, you'll find a Watch Together link. We're checking out Jim Sterling's objective review. It's like a criticism of we don't want objective reviews. We want people to be biased, and we're just going to see what's said, what's implied.
Okay, thank you for filling me in. Do you have a watch together thing?
Yeah, scroll up, you'll find it.
Oh.
I can
Okey-doke.
repost it, I suppose.
It's right under the adorable Rags plushie. Get one today.
Get one today.
Awesome, thank you for
Call
that.
1-800-444-RAGS.
444 rag.
Oh, 1-800. 1-800
All right,
69 69 69.
Oh,
I'm jacked in. I'm ready.
My
All right.
origin name is 1-800-GET-RAGS.
Oh,
call
yeah,
that.
it is.
You can call that, and who knows what will happen.
Interesting.
If there's if I sound like a scared woman on the other side telling you to go away, that's just my little joke. Don't let me fool you.
Ha, I'm in on it.
Who is this Rex they're calling about? I don't understand.
all you've missed is the idea that this is a remastered video, so it's from a while ago, but it was in response to people saying, wow, I wish people would be more objective when reviewing God of War, which was that 2018 or 19?
2018.
2018.
So this video was put out.
I see.
Okay.
This isn't funny.
It's alright.
So enjoy that. Final Fantasy XIII is a video game released on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It was developed by Square Enix. It stars characters. One of the characters is called Lightning, and that is the main character of the game that can be played.
Now you can probably understand what's happening here already.
Yeah.
He's not very.
Let's
He's
go.
not very
Annoyed
creative
by the
for-
shtick.
for talent.
Yeah, and now it's all like, okay, so we got another 4 minutes of this, and I already get it, and I can already tell that this is
Yeah, we've gone.
non-substantive.
We've tiered above. So you can do this with the hypersubjectivity. All right, the equivalent to this with hypersubjectivity is just going, I like the characters, I like the story, I like the fact that it's a game, I like that it's by Square Enix. It's like, there you go, I'm done. Review
In
over.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Review's over. We did it.
This actually has nothing to do with being objective, because like one of the most frustrating things about this is like, wow, you sound so bored, and it's like, yeah, because objective views are boring. It's like, okay, so there's a
That's
lot of
subjective.
creators on YouTube who do this and are highly successful because of how entertaining they are.
Absolutely. This is where what we call the talent comes in.
Yeah. You find this a lot of the time with some documentaries. There was that video that I think I mentioned a while back on EFAP where it was like comparing documentary styles, ones where they basically dictate how you should feel about things, and then ones where they show you what's happening, and it's so, like, the event itself is so interesting or a particular way that's enough to just make you feel things from the fact that they're just showing you stuff that is. They don't have to add anything to it. And I find that, like, you know, if someone's trying to bring down a game and they show you a compilation of the hitboxes not working or the AI not working, if someone was like, this is boring, it's like, is it? I don't know.
No.
I seem to recall that Total Biscuit did it pretty well.
Exactly. I was literally about to say I miss Total Biscuit.
Yeah.
He's the reason.
We need him more than ever.
He's literally the reason that I started making content.
He was huge inspiration.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
For me, it was Hitler.
Hey,
you know,
that's
I mean-
mine.
Total Hitler.
So this is
know-
this is the first time that I've sorry to interrupt your.
No, we can
Hitler
fill you in on
speech.
Hitler if you need.
Okay.
Expound upon Hitler some more, please.
So this is the first time I've actually seen this video by what's his face. Is the argument here that if you're including any sort of excitement or emotion, then somehow the review is bad?
I think what he's trying to say about this topic is this idea that there is no possible way to make an interesting review that is worthwhile to anybody unless there's elements of subjectivity in there,
A bias,
and significant ones too. And it was probably in response to some criticism he received, I would imagine.
Yeah,
You know, this reminds me a lot of the stuff of that stupid shit they say about how everything is political. Because this is a way for Jim, right? Is if people go to Jim and say, Jim, you've got a really big bias showing here on this review, he'll make a video like this to try and justify why it's okay to be biased. In the same way that somebody could make an extremely political slanted review of something, and people complain about it, and they say, "Oh, well, actually, you don't want something not political because actually everything's political," and then they try and justify it that way. It's the same energy.
I would also say that they try and turn it into a binary all the time when it's clearly a scale. Like if for example I did a whole objective review and there was one moment where I go, though I do like this character, even if it is just for the little blue hat, I really find it cute. Moving on, and and someone went, "Wow, your review is worthless when you said you liked the little blue hat." It's like, oh shit. Versus this video game is 1 out of 10. Fuck it, I hate it. Fuck this game, and it's like beloved. You're just like, oh shit, like. Seems like something's going on there. It's like, because Jim's been through this a couple times. The 3 I remember are Zelda, what's it called? Breath of the Wild.
Hellblade. Don't forget Hellblade.
Senua's Sacrifice, and as far as I was concerned anyway, Ukulele. Like, I think he gave Ukulele like a 2 or 3, and I was like, fucking hell.
Jesus.
because Laylee is racist or some shit.
There was some really. I was gonna say, watch my Ukulele series. There are some weird arguments Jim comes up with.
What? You didn't hear about that? Oh,
it's been a long time. I probably did hear about it at the time because I have watched like Mahler's videos on it. But again, it's been so long since I've seen them, and there's so much in there that you don't remember it all. But I can believe that Jim is dumb enough to do that.
It's like an escape hatch in terms of like, well, fuck it, everyone's got biases in there. Leave me alone. It's like, yeah, but we're highlighting that your ones are fucking up the whole thing. Like, do you not see the difference? It's like, okay,
yeah, when I say I like the blue hat, people can recognize that pretty much self-evidently as just me subjectively saying I like this hat, and it's very self-contained.
Yeah,
I feel like we're almost missing the obvious part though when it comes to the idea of, because I think the big thing that's getting pushed back against in this video is the idea that you can make any qualitative assessment at all without immediately becoming subjective. But feels like that can't be the case if we have defined definitions of things, and then we can use those definitions to figure out exactly how well something is doing at being like that. For instance, if you have a hat and it's got like a massive hole in the top of it, and then like whenever it rains you get like soaked in water, it's like, oh, this is a neutral hat. This is neither a good nor bad hat, despite the fact that it's failing to do what it fundamentally needs to do.
And that's the thing, someone will be like, so you're saying if something fails its purpose, then it must not be good. And it's like, so to be more specific, because I had this trouble with the hitboxes in DS2, people were like, what if I like it when the hitboxes don't match the models? Like,
what if I like it if I get my leg broken by a sledgehammer?
Humans are amazing like that. So I was like, okay, but hitboxes are defined like as a skill set, as a craft. They're supposed to do this. This is what they are designed for. What we have here are a whole different subset. They're really good, shitty hitboxes. They are excellent at being this other thing, because they're clearly not hitboxes, because they're not doing what hitboxes do, like, definitionally. As we've all come to label it and understand it, rock it in stone, what is a hitbox? It's like, it's supposed to apply to the model, and it provides you damage, or whatever, a marker, because the model itself doesn't. That's the way it looks versus the way it's programmed. And it's just like, no, that's subjective. It's like, okay, well, me pointing out that the hitboxes are out of sync with the model throughout the fucking game is still going to be very useful.
Objectively correct.
You can make up your mind on that if you want, but that's exactly...
Whether you like what the information is, I mean, that's on you, but the information is what it is.
I think
it is
people
very much that scroll of truth near thing, isn't it?
I think people that like bad hitboxes probably also like MCU smoke monsters.
Oh yeah, MCU smoke monsters are the bad hitboxes of superhero movies.
Also, I guess I don't really fully grasp the argument that they're making, where you can't be genuinely excited for something that is objectively good, or you can't be genuinely upset at something that is objectively bad. Like, you can point out something that is not something that is objective, and you can be happy for it, which is kind of like a subjective, feeling. But I don't see how that kind of changes anything. Like, if something is bad or something is good from an objective point of view, it doesn't really change the review. I guess I'm kind of failing to. I mean, most of these arguments don't make sense, but I guess I kind of don't understand. Like, so
I get what you mean, right? Like,
Yeah.
do you lose anything by watching somebody try and do it in that way, even if you disagree with the notion that it's possible? Do you not get a single thing out of it, or is your issue
Yeah.
just with the fact that they've labeled it as such?
Mm.
Which I guess is one thing, but like, what does this video have to do with getting that point across?
I would almost argue a classic direction of this as well is that two people come to the conclusion, I fucking hate character X, and then you ask them, it's like, oh, why? And then they go, I just don't like the way that he talks to people all the time. He's like a real asshole. And you go, why is that? Do you not like asshole characters? And he's like, and after a while you get out of them, they kind of remind them of the abusive father or something. You're like, oh shit. Okay, yeah, no, I understand. Meanwhile, the second person is like, no, I just don't like him because he just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, he's angry all the time. But everything, like, in terms of his actions are always incredibly, like, useful, helpful, and positive. Or something, trying to highlight something that just doesn't seem to work for them, and they're getting confused as to how they can get invested in the character. It's like two very different conversations. And you could call them objective, subjective, based on it's this experience they have that's forcing them to experience something that you can't possibly... You wouldn't have the same experience. Meanwhile, the other person, it's like you might actually take that information in because it comes from the content. You might even conclude the same thing, or you could be like, no, that's the point. They're angry exterior, but the actions they take are always in favor of people because they don't actually feel that way. They just want people to look at them that way. So you have a lot of information to support it. And I find that the conversations are super interesting when you can recognize the differences instead of saying being objective in any way. Everyone just say how they feel about stuff. Like, oh, okay. And it always
Think
seems
about
to be
when
like
you're buying a car. When you're buying, let's stick with a car analogy. So I need, if you have to choose between both sides of in an extreme sense, a purely objective review, which is basically an exact description of something, and a pure subjective review, which one will actually help you pick out the car that you need the best?
Absolutely the objective one.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone could disagree. I suppose there's someone out there who's like, well, I want to know what the feel of the car is. I don't care about what it has in it.
Imagine trying to construct a building
Based on
not being
feelings?
extremely objective.
Well, that's the thing. There's no room
your
for
job
that.
to be thrown in jail.
Yeah, there's no room for that in I don't know how to categorize this, but building a house or architecture and stuff is still a skill set and artwork. Like, you can still make incredible
Absolutely,
artworks and stuff. At the same time, when you build it, if you fuck up any of the regulations, like, you can't go, well, it's subjective. Like, no.
Structural integrity needs to be objective.
When need a foundation.
When the building inspectors roll up to your building and they measure the grade of your handicap accessibility ramps, I feel like it was flat enough is not going to be a good defense when they hand you a big ass fine and tell you that you have to spend even more money to change it. All right.
Well,
both my parents are architects, for those who didn't know, and they have to do that stuff all the time. Yeah. They get hired to go out and check buildings and make sure they're all up to all the codes and everything, to measure, to do a bunch of surveying work. But also, they talk often about, well, if we do an addition, we have to have the style of the addition. We want it to match the building that's being attached to. But we also should take into account, what are the other buildings around? Should it match them as well? We don't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. Things of that nature. So it's a huge mix of beauty and
whenever houses come up in these conversations, it's impossible not to reference the Simpsons episode. Look at the house that love built.
It's just like, was that it? It's like, well, in my opinion, a house that falls down as soon as it's been built is good. So there's no such thing as a good or bad house. And it's like, you could say that, but let's be real. Nobody.
Like people. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's like nobody really believes this, like including Jim, because there will definitely be games that he considers to be just completely irredeemable or completely broken, awful, terrible.
I'm not going to worry too much, nor do I think anyone should really worry too much about trying to really win over the crazy ass people who are in the vast minority fringes who are just nuts.
Yes.
As much as they probably exist through mathematical probability.
Oftentimes we're still more honest, though. Because like we've seen it with so many people we cover, where they will slip randomly into.
Oh yes,
like this is bad though. This is, but you're like, whoa, that goes against everything you said.
The Room is a bad movie.
It's impossible not because again, nobody believes that Custer's Revenge and like Grand Theft Auto 5 can be compared in terms of like quality. There's nobody in the world who is sitting there and unironically going to pretend like it's interchangeable whether those games are as good or bad as each other.
Grand Theft Auto is Custer's Revenge.
Yeah, basically the same. They're both misogynist.
Yep.
Remember when the Chinese built that hospital in like a week or something, and everybody said that's impressive? It's like, yeah, the hospital fell apart and it sucked shit.
How long did it take to fall apart? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I saw some pictures of the foundations, like just like cracking in a horrible, awful way, like something out of a disaster movie. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Regulations are incredibly important, and they're used because of health and safety. You can't to a degree, rating systems are an example of actually trying to get some level of objectivity in terms of what is in the thing, so that we can properly represent it to the audience. Of course, there's going to be biases with how people execute it and confusion in terms of the rules because they're rating like thousands every day or whatever. But it's still an attempt to be like, this is what is in there, and I'm going to represent it with a symbol, because you need to know for the safety of your, children or people who aren't equipped to view what's going to happen and stuff. And it's just like there's no space to be like, it's fine though, it's all blah blah blah. It's like no, we can't. Got to get this right.
Stop it.
Especially when we get into mathematics stuff, when we're dealing with things like that are pretty much as objective as you could possibly get, because they're essentially constructs. They're not even a part of the universe in the sense of even a solipsist would probably have to agree that mathematics are provable things. You can't pull it's just subjective card on stuff like that, and it's why it's the go-to. The 2 + 2 is 4 thing. You can't get out of that.
We've said before as well that if you want to pull the card of we are human beings, we are like fleshy creatures that exist, there's no way we can view or understand anything in an objective way compared to the universe or whatever. It's just like, man, that is so useful. Well, can't wait to use that for everything.
We could be in the Matrix, so everything's shit. It's like, no, go away, crazy person.
Like, I get that, but like, I'm a human being. This is all I've got. Like, in terms of understanding.
Well, yeah, this is our maximum capacity for all awareness we have, so.
It's like, well, what you can do is if you really feel that, you can go away, and the rest of humanity can continue to use the scientific method and all of these other incredibly reliable methodologies to arrive at the best explanations for the truth of the universe, and we'll keep building civilizations and advanced machinery and philosophies and stuff, and you can sit over there and you can bitch about it.
And it's worth noting, being objective doesn't mean reaching some level of absolute truth.
Hello, you just listened to a segment of the podcast Every Frame a Pause, or EFAP. Hosted by YouTubers Mauler, Rags, and Fringy, and joined by a cycling variety of guests across the internet, they critically analyze media with exhaustive detail while pausing at every single frame. Subscribe to the EFAP channel and catch new episodes on Saturdays, as well as catch their smaller videos reacting to the latest and not-so-greatest movies and TV shows throughout the week. You can also subscribe here to EFAP Highlights for the latest shorts, clips, and supercuts, also uploaded throughout the week. Links to all the relevant channels can be found in the description section below, as well as links to their communities on Reddit and Discord. Thanks for watching.